webinar is really talking about Dynamics 365 and LinkedIn, and essentially how those two products are really integrated in together. We'll be doing a future webinar on basically how LinkedIn is going to be integrated with the talent management side and the HR side of the house in a later webinar. But today we're going to focus more on the sales and LinkedIn Sales Navigator component and what you can achieve out of that. So just starting with some quick introductions, my name is Tim Harris. I'm the Vice President of Strategy and Solutions for Arbella. You can follow me on Twitter at DAXTalk. As well, all of our webinars and ebooks and blog posts on these topics can be found on our Arbella webpage, as well as if you follow our Twitter handle at Arbella Tech, you can find us there. And I'll just turn over to John if you want to just maybe introduce yourself really quickly and get us started.
Yeah, hello everyone. This is John Petrucelli. I'm the VP of Solutions, or VP of Sales here at Arbella, and really excited to share this great content. Microsoft bought LinkedIn about 16 months ago, and this past summer they started rolling out some of the new innovations and features. And Tim's going to share some great Sales Navigator, Dynamics CRM integration. So let's get started.
Great, thanks, John. So we'll get kicked off here. So today what we want to talk a little bit about is obviously the relationship between Sales Navigator and LinkedIn and basically Dynamics 365 for sales. So we'll talk a little bit about how they're integrated in terms of InMails and Point Drives and Sales Navigator and so forth. But really what we wanted to start off with today is to talk a little bit about how sales has changed over time. Many years ago, sales is really about that kind of real personalization, that face-to-face conversation, those relationships that you had built and leveraged to perform your job. And there really wasn't a lot of technology involved. It was just more people networking together and so forth. So that relationship building component was really high. And then what happened was we started getting to telesales, and we started getting into role specialization, and we were using sales and marketing automation solutions and basically self-service offerings on websites and so forth. What ended up happening is that the sales kind of role started moving more towards like a product to a very high level of productivity, but it started kind of reducing the actual relationship component of the sales job. It became more transactional, and essentially it lost that personal touch from the sales component. So what we want to show you today is how using LinkedIn and CRM application can both be highly productive, but also highly focused on relationship building. So we'll go over how that happens today. So just some new release. We thought since this came out in the last week or so, we'd kind of just throw this up here. But Forrester recently conducted their Q2 findings in 2017 around Salesforce automation solutions. And they've really ranked Microsoft as that leader in the space above Salesforce and Oracle. And one of the major reasons for that is that the old Salesforce automation world was more of a sales management tool, but today's focus is really around sales empowerment or seller empowerment. And with the LinkedIn acquisition, as well as some of the other integrations they have with machine learning, Office 365, and so forth, they've really basically transformed the way that people work within a sales focus. So let's talk a little bit about that. One of the challenges that we have today is basically information overload. We've got so much information that's coming at us, but it's sort of sitting in these different silos. And to try to get to proper insights, we need to kind of bridge these silos together. So if you think of the traditional CRM space, we're talking about leads and accounts and orders, proposals, opportunities, and so on, maybe some service cases. Then we had kind of our productivity suite, your Office, Microsoft Outlook, Excel, and so forth, where we have things like emails, we've got our calendars, we have our different to-do lists, we have different documents maybe on SharePoint, we've got meeting collaboration with things like Skype and whatnot. And then we have basically the social side of things. So if you looked at LinkedIn or Twitter or these other platforms, you've got lead generation taking place there. You've got notifications of when people are changing their jobs. You've got who are the people that are actually the decision makers of these accounts. And of course, we have connections, our network that we built, our professional network that we built. How do we get introduced to people that we don't have direct relationships with? Can we leverage our network to do that? And really, this is sort of what we call the Microsoft graph in terms of all these different components. And when you start to take all these components and unify them under under a single solution, you start to be able to get those insights across those capabilities. So we talk about this as unifying the seller's experience. I still have all that account management and opportunity management, lead management, and so forth in my CRM system, but now it's combined with information that's taking place in LinkedIn. I'll be able to see when someone changes a job and maybe goes to another company that maybe I could leverage that relationship to upsell or cross-sell into that new company. Maybe I want to get introduced to an account that I'm trying to chase, and I've got a connection that has a direct connection in there, and I want to get a warm introduction. I can leverage my connections through LinkedIn to do that. And then, of course, being able to look at how my email and my meetings and my colleagues and when my documents are all interacting with these particular accounts with this particular information. So bringing all this into a centralized experience where we can take all this information and combine it together to make decisions more effectively and perform our sales duties more effectively is really what this is all about. So just kind of looking at that, when we talk about relationship selling, relationship health is trending up based on engagement. So how is the health of my communications with that particular opportunity or account or contact trending? Am I getting a high level of engagement for them? Are they interacting with content that I have on social? Are they responding to my emails? Are they opening my attachments? Getting content recommendations for the buyer. So looking at getting recommendations around, maybe a great ebook or some other sales material that would help me sell that particular deal, and surfacing that information to be able to communicate across any of those platforms. And then determining if I have a meeting coming up with a particular buyer that I have, and getting insights as to who that buyer is, where my connections might reside. And then, of course, coming along with that is basically having colleagues introduce us to those particular buyers. Getting that trusted advisor to introduce you as another trusted advisor carries a lot of weight. And then alerting you if a particular champion that you have within an organization may be leaving that company, or maybe someone that has been kind of a blocker for you to get your sales into that company is also leaving, and maybe bringing somebody else in as their replacement where you might be able to kind of renew that particular opportunity. And then, of course, the last one is basically, has that prospect interacted with your emails or your in-mail communications on LinkedIn, and being able to pull all those insights together to see that within your CRM application. So when we talk about that, kind of traditional model of, high relationship building, transactional productivity, it was sort of one or the other in the past. And now what we're doing with relationship selling is we're kind of moving that paradigm to be highly productive, but at the same time getting us a highly personalized experience for that particular buyer. So some of the ways that we can do that by leveraging the LinkedIn platform. So LinkedIn has a number of different offerings that they sell. So they have an advertising platform, which is basically LinkedIn advertising, where you can do demand generation with LinkedIn with lead ads. You also have the Sales Navigator capabilities, which basically pools your sales team together and uses that pooled network of resources to be able to kind of get interactions going with those different people. So that immersive Sales Navigator experience directly within the CRM client. Then you've got Point Drive, and I'll show some of this today, but Point Drive is basically a way that you can share documentation and information, but it gets you rich insights as to who's looking at it, what are they looking at, how long are they looking at it, who did they forward it to, did that person open that documentation, and so forth. And bringing those insights back into your CRM application to figure out how people are interacting with the content that you're generating. And the last one is really joint offers and go-to-market strategies that you can perform by pulling all this data together. So just as a quick overview, when we talk about demand generation, this is sort of the campaign capabilities within LinkedIn. So this is how you would generate a campaign. Because LinkedIn has over 500 million professionals in there, and every single basically company that's out there as well, and all the demographics of that company in terms of, what industries do they serve, and then on the contact level, knowing what their role is, and basically what groups do they belong to, and what kind of history do they have, and so forth. We can do very targeted campaign ads within LinkedIn. So here's setting up a new example here as a campaign. I can go through and basically define that particular campaign, but then what I can do is I can really narrow down who I want to target for this campaign. I can upload a set of accounts. So if I have a target list of accounts by company name, I could go by company industries, by company size, job title, job function, member skill sets. Everyone populates their skill sets on LinkedIn. What degree of separation do I have for those people from the people that I know? Their fields of study from educational perspective or schools, their seniority level in terms of their job role, and then of course if they belong to any member groups, or if we're targeting male versus females, or if we're getting down to even age or years of experience and so forth. So all these things can be leveraged as part of your targeting campaign. And obviously the more selections you make, the more narrow the focus is on that particular campaign, but probably the more effective you're actually driving that lead gen into. So very powerful targeting capabilities, especially if you have solutions within particular markets and you have certain buyer personas that you want to go after. And then once that campaign is created, you would upload the content, and they would be able to basically see that on their mobile device, on their desktop, and it appears either in their news feed or their activity feed, or actually you can do it in their InMail, which is essentially the LinkedIn email platform. So you create those campaigns, you can prospect those particular ads, get that interest. And one of the nice things is the LinkedIn forms will pre-populate with all the contact details from LinkedIn, so you don't get that departure from the lead form that you typically see on like a normal website landing page, because it's all pre-filled in from LinkedIn, and they can just change any details that may be different. So essentially those campaigns though are now linked back into CRM as a lead source. So once they fill in that form, we can now populate that directly within the CRM application. Your source campaign could be ad campaign, or however you want to define that from LinkedIn. And then you'll actually see the LinkedIn form submission information in here, where you'd have like the name, the company, contact details, etc., directly within your lead acquisition capabilities. So bridging that gap now is actually a standard part of the product that allows you to generate that lead within CRM. So obviously the embedding of those capabilities becomes really powerful, because now we've got a lot of rich information from LinkedIn that we can surface in our opportunity management, our contacts, and our accounts within the CRM application. So we have these concepts called widgets, which are basically a LinkedIn widget built within the product. So what you'll see here is down at the bottom, you'll see this LinkedIn company profile. What it's doing is it's taking the company account information from the opportunity and surfacing that information directly in CRM, where I can see, recommended leads within that company, maybe the executive team. I can see how I'm connected to them. I can see news about that particular company, or maybe what they're posting on LinkedIn about. Maybe they have an acquisition that they recently acquired, and other insights that they will publish in that area. I can see the same information, of course, from a contact perspective. How am I related to that contact? Who that contact is, what is their history, and so forth. So as an example here, I can also, if you've ever used the InMail functionality, which is basically emailing people within the LinkedIn platform, maybe you don't have their email address, but you are connected in some way at a level 2 or level 3 with the person on LinkedIn, we can leverage InMail to actually send them emails and gather that. And we can synchronize this with CRM, so it appears in my activity feed just like any other emails or phone calls that I make today, except you'll see a little LinkedIn logo here, and you'll see that full InMail message within your CRM system. So that interoperability, whether you want to send it from CRM, you can send an email directly from CRM, or you could do it in the LinkedIn platform, and it'll synchronize over to the CRM system. One of the other great things, obviously, is just the controls that you can put in place around communication. So here I'm on an opportunity record, but I've got, for instance, here's the InMail message that I've sent. Here's the contact details, and then up above, up in the top right-hand corner here, it's actually telling me that, oh, it looks like we both worked at the same company between January and December last year. So I can get insights on how I'm actually associated to this particular opportunity, and where I can maybe use an icebreaker, an initial call with that particular customer. So just kind of highlighting the LinkedIn components that are now embedded within CRM. So this is just a standard opportunity record. You'll see a normal deal size and so forth, but I can see those InMail messages, I see company information, and I can see information about how I'm related to that particular contact to that particular company. So just another example here of kind of leveraging some of the data from LinkedIn is obviously bringing in the photos of each of the people that you're associated to this. So if I have a sales team, I've got maybe stakeholders from a vendor perspective, and then of course I've got the actual contacts of that prospect that I'm going after. Sometimes bringing in the visual of that person's, what they look like may trigger the fact that I have met this person before. I've maybe forgot their name, but seeing their face kind of reminds me that we've had a conversation maybe a few years back, or we met at a conference or something along those lines. So sometimes just a simple thing as bringing in visualizations of what they look like kind of helps people identify or trigger knowledge about those different areas. One of the other really neat functionality that is built in here is something called Relationship Insights. So we've got a lot of Relationship Insights. This is a new feature that's in the version 9 of the CRM application, or D365. And really what it allows you to do is to basically see how your relationships are trending for this particular opportunity. So are they responding to my emails? Is my email communication upticking? That's usually a good sign that you're maybe getting close to closing that deal. How many hours have I spent working on this particular account? What was the typical response time from our team? And that was always good in the past when it was looking at our email from Exchange Server, but now we can enrich that even further with communications on LinkedIn. So are they engaging with our Point Drive information? So when I fill that in here, I can basically now bring in good relationship health. They're responding to my emails. I can see these new blue lines down below, which basically show me interactions with Point Drive. I can now link to the profiles of these people on LinkedIn to get more information. So I'm now enriching this data set with even more information across platforms that used to be disparate, that I can now collect that information together and aggregate it as an overall relationship analysis. So again, really some additional relationship insights here. I've got the ability here to see that I've got a meeting coming up. I can see that on Point Drive, they opened up a document. It was viewed for 20 minutes. It was opened at 3:21 p.m. And maybe what I want to do is follow up with Bruce now that they've kind of looked at that document, to see if he has any questions about the material that was sent over there about digital transformation or whatever it was that I was speaking to that person about. So just getting those insights. A lot of the times we send these emails to people today, and we have no idea if they open the attachment. We have no idea if they even read the email. But all that relationship assistance right now is now connected in with LinkedIn as well as our email to get us that information. So if they haven't opened, for instance, the proposal we've sent them over the last 15 days, that's probably a concern, right? It means that we're not active on that account. If we send them a bunch of marketing material and they don't look at it at all, maybe we drop their priority in terms of that relationship health of this particular opportunity, or we engage in a different way to try to get that health of this opportunity back on track. So getting those insights can be really powerful to help you determine where you are truly in that sales cycle. So it's just an example here of that Point Drive kind of embedded in there. So let's go in and actually show you some of this in action. So I'm just going to go and load up into my system here. I'm going to close this down. So here I am within my CRM application. I've got a dummy company here. I'm just going to do a search for a particular contact. So I'm going to go and look for Nima, who's our CEO, and we're going to return any contacts that match that criteria. I've found Nima, and I'm basically going to load up his contact record within the system. What you can see in here is under the activities, here I've got a LinkedIn in-mail that I actually sent from LinkedIn directly within the system. And what you'll see under the drop-down here, where we used to be able to add phone calls and tasks and appointments, all the standard CRM elements, we now have all these LinkedIn components. So I can send an in-mail, which is basically like an email on the LinkedIn platform. I can message them through the messaging application on LinkedIn. I can maybe share a Point Drive link, or basically I can determine if they've actually viewed something on Point Drive as well. So all these things can be done directly from the CRM application, or you can do it within the actual LinkedIn platform, and it'll synchronize across here. But what I can also do is, let's see, I want to look at the information about Nima in this case. So I'm going to go look at his profile. And LinkedIn's going to synchronize all the information from Nima's profile here, and I can see he's currently the president of Arabella, and I can basically open up his full profile. I can add him as a lead into my Sales Navigator. But what I can also see is this concept called icebreakers. A lot of the times we get assigned accounts that we don't have any connections into. And one of the ways that we can determine if we have any connections into is by looking at this icebreaker section. And here it tells me that I've got 20 shared connections with Nima, where maybe I can get a soft introduction to Nima through my network. I can also see recent activity. He's been posting some articles on LinkedIn, and maybe what I want to do is start commenting on these articles to kind of get myself known to him through that social circle. I can also see that we both worked at Arabella. We've got 5 mutual groups that we belong to on LinkedIn, and so forth. So these are all insights as to how you might be able to kind of break the ice with an individual. You know, sending an email to someone about your product or service typically doesn't net very good results. But if you have someone maybe introduce you and say, hey, Tim Harris wanted me to introduce you to Nima. I've been working with Tim for a number of years, and I really have a lot of respect for what he does. And he would love an opportunity to talk to you about your CRM needs. That kind of introduction carries a lot more weight than just a cold introduction email. So leveraging these icebreakers can be really powerful. And how I can do that, here's the get introduced side. These are all the people that are connected with Nima that are connected with me. I could grab any one of these individuals here and then basically ask for an introduction, and then essentially they would through the email and LinkedIn request that introduction, and then essentially they would put us in touch with that individual. As well, we also have related leads. So one of the things when we're talking about an account is who else within Arabella do I want to connect with? Do I want to connect with their CFO? Do I want to connect with their VP of sales? Their business development manager, whoever that is. And then what I can do is I can just click on save as lead, and these are now saved as leads, not only within my CRM application, but also my Sales Navigator application. So I can now start to follow these people and get insights on them associated to this particular account. So a lot of great insights there. And of course, I can do the same thing on the company profile. So here I get the company profile about Arabella. You can see the number of employees. I can see my connections to this company. I can look at related news information and so forth, all related to this particular company, which again gives me additional insights into the organization that I'm trying to sell into. So let's just switch over really quickly to LinkedIn and just show you a few things. So I'm going to go into my Sales Navigator here. One of the things I'm going to do here is just go under my lead list. And when I click on that, what I should see here is I've added from CRM, when I added John and Stephanie as a lead, it now appears in my LinkedIn Sales Navigator here. So now I've actually get them into my lead list here. These are the people I'm targeting. I can actually, Sales Navigator tells me things like I have 18 leads with team link introductions, which basically my team can introduce me to any one of these people. There was one mention of someone I'm following in the last 30 days. And there's been 8 posts on LinkedIn by the leads that I've been following that maybe I want to go and comment on or respond to. And then I can actually see that I share experiences with 8 of these people as well. It could be the same university, it could be different groups we belong to, and so forth. So a lot of insights and capabilities that I can bring in here. And of course, when I say message in here or I send an email, that's going to synchronize back into my CRM application. So I'm just going to say, John, this is a test. I'm just going to send that off to him right now. But essentially what that'll do is that will now synchronize back to John's contact record in CRM, and I'll be able to see that email message or that in-mail message directly in my CRM. The other thing I want to show you just really quickly, because we only have a few minutes left, but is basically the point drive capabilities. One of the things you can do when you have Sales Navigator is to basically leverage Point Drive, which is essentially a collection of marketing material that you may want to share with different people. So in this example here, these are all Dynamics 365 for customer engagement. We've got a couple of different customer service reports. We have, basically a fact sheet. We've got a field service fact sheet and so forth. I can add these different assets into into a profile. But what it'll also allow me to do is I get statistics when I share this particular link with someone. And I can find out there's been 4 viewers on this content. Of an average time of 1 minute and 2 seconds of viewer time. And if I want to drill into that, I can look at the viewers and I can see who actually looked at this information. And then I can basically drill into the details underneath that. If I click on viewers here, I'll get even more information. And then I can actually see the information of how long they spent on each of those pieces of content by going to view activity. And I'll be able to see what they looked at, how long they looked at it for, and so forth. So in this case, they only looked at the first out of the 4 pieces of content. They looked at it twice, they viewed it for 41 seconds, they looked at 2 out of 23 pages, and they downloaded it once. So I can get some real insights as to what marketing material is resonating with people, but also what they may be interested in, so I can maybe direct my conversations more effectively. And the brilliance of this is now all this statistics and information are now pulled into my CRM application, so I can actually see this information right within CRM now. So a lot of capabilities and power there as well. So let's just switch back to the presentation, and we'll kind of wrap things up here, and we'll open it up for questions. But the offer that Microsoft has around this right now is basically combining Dynamics 365 for sales plus LinkedIn Sales Navigator for $135 a user a month. Now that's before any EA discounts and so forth. That's standard list price. But if you look at the average cost, if you were to put these two together on their own, it represents well over a 30% savings when they're combined. So I'm just going to open it up for questions. I don't see any questions entered into the chat window right now, but maybe what we'll do is just see if anyone has any questions on the platform or you know, how any of these elements work together. Oops. Don't see any questions coming in yet. So maybe just while we're waiting for people to enter any questions, I'll just kind of click through to the next slides here. One way that you can get more information on this material and other material is on our website, arbellatech.com. If you go to arbellatech.com/insights or just click on the Insights navigation at the top here, you can actually sort through all this different content by solution or service or industry and so forth, and you'll find more information on these types of topics. And then, of course, you can follow us on social media as well, our LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook profiles. You know, kind of, we post a lot of information about all these capabilities and leadership around customer engagement and so forth. So I see one question that's come in here. Let me just grab that. Can you link CRM on-premise with LinkedIn? Currently, the current offering for LinkedIn is really only on CRM Online. But they are talking about potentially bringing that to CRM on-premise as well. So it's sort of the old cloud-first, mobile-first approach at Microsoft. It'll definitely come first into the online version or the cloud version, and then they'll be investigating bringing that to the on-prem version. See if there's any other questions. Okay, I don't see any more questions, and I think we're just about out of time. So, oh, it looks like there's an email here. Does that mean there will be a mobile app option? So, both Sales Navigator and Dynamics 365 both have mobile applications. All those insights, like seeing the LinkedIn emails and seeing the profiles of the companies and the contacts and so forth, are all also available on the mobile application for Dynamics 365. There's also a Sales Navigator app that you can download for iOS and Android and so forth. That will, anything that you do on that will synchronize back to CRM as well. So you have both options available. You could do it through the Dynamics app, or you could do it through the native Sales Navigator application. But both are supported. Both will continue to synchronize because it's still using the same connections in the back end. I'll just see if there's any more questions coming through here. Okay, well, if there's any additional questions after the fact, feel free to email us. You can just email us at sales@arbellatech.com or marketing@arbellatech.com. We'll be happy to try to answer any questions that you might have on the platform. Otherwise, hopefully this was a useful webinar for you all, and we hope to talk to you soon.